Arjun and Mira meet in a small-town school. They secretly fall in love but never confess their feelings. After school, Mira moves to the city for further studies, while Arjun stays behind. They get separated without saying anything. 7 years later, they run into each other in the city. Mira is now a successful event manager. Arjun is a struggling musician. Arjun never forgot Mira. They reconnect at a corporate event where Arjun performs music. Mira brings Arjun back into her life, but only as a friend. Arjun starts showing his love slowly. Mira is confused, torn between her career and emotions. Mira's family arranges her marriage with a wealthy businessman. He is practical, stable, and very focused on Mira's career success. But there is no emotional connection between them. Mira feels the pressure of expectations and starts to question her feelings. Meanwhile, Arjun senses the growing distance between them. Unable to express his heartbreak in words, he pours his emotions into a heartfelt song he writes, just for Mira. In the song, or a letter, if you prefer, Arjun reveals the depth of his love, the pain of their separation, and his hope that Mira will understand his true feelings someday. Despite his pain, Arjun respects Mira's choices and steps back, giving her space to decide. On Mira's wedding day, while preparing for the ceremony, she accidentally discovers Arjun's diary or finds the heartfelt song he wrote for her. Reading his words, she is overwhelmed by memories and the genuine love Arjun has always had for her. Realizing that her heart belongs to Arjun, not the practical businessman, Mira makes a bold decision. She runs away from the wedding venue to find Arjun, determined to follow her heart rather than societal expectations. When they reunite, it's emotional and filled with hope. The story closes on the powerful message: true love always finds its way back. Story number 2, a beautiful love story. Once upon a time, in a peaceful little town, known for its charm and simplicity, there lived two souls destined to meet. One fateful day, their paths crossed in a quaint bookstore. They both reached for the same book at the same moment. What began with an awkward apology quickly turned into warm smiles. Those smiles led to conversations, and those conversations began weaving a quiet connection between them. As they talked, they discovered a shared love for literature and a mutual appreciation for life's simple joys. These common interests created a silent bond, one that grew deeper with every meeting, like the pages of a favorite book turning slowly, drawing them further into each other's story. They wandered through the town's cobbled streets, laughing, dreaming, and exploring. With every shared moment, their hearts grew closer, and a gentle, warm affection blossomed between them. One evening, beneath a sky full of stars, he softly held her hand and whispered, "You are the most beautiful chapter of my favorite story." She smiled, knowing in her heart that she had found her forever story. Story number 3. Of course. Here's a new original love story, fresh and emotional, told in a poetic and cinematic style. The Letters We Never Sent. In a quiet coastal village, where the sea whispered secrets to the shore, lived Ayan and Zoya, two childhood friends whose bond was stitched with laughter, dreams, and unspoken love. Every summer they met at the old lighthouse, a place where their friendship blossomed with the scent of salt and wildflowers. But before either of them could admit how deeply they felt, life intervened. Zoya's family moved to the city. Ayan stayed behind, holding on to memories like seashells in his palm. Years passed. They never confessed, never called, but both wrote letters, dozens of them, sealed with feelings they could never say out loud. They hid them, never sent them, until one day a twist of fate brought Zoya back to the village. The lighthouse still stood, and there, inside an old wooden box they once shared, she found the letters. All of them, including the one Ian had written the night before she left. The one that said, "If I had one more day with you, I'd tell you everything I never could." Zoya, with tears in her eyes, knew she had waited long enough. She ran through the salty wind to the shore, where Ayan still walked every morning, hoping. When their eyes met, no words were needed. Because sometimes, love doesn't need to be spoken. It just needs to be found. Story number 4. A Latte Love. Every morning, Emma visited the small corner cafe 2 blocks from her apartment. It wasn't just the coffee she adored. Though the barista made a mean vanilla latte, it was the quiet charm of the place. The soft jazz playing, the smell of fresh pastries, and the tall guy with messy hair who always sat in the same spot by the window. His name was Theo. They never spoke. Not until the morning Emma spilled her drink all over her notebook, and Theo, without hesitation, handed her a napkin and a smile. "Rough morning?" he asked. She laughed, a little embarrassed. You could say that. From that moment, morning by morning, they began to talk. First, it was just small things: weather, books, the news, but slowly, their conversations deepened. Emma learned that Theo was a writer who struggled with endings. And Theo learned that Emma was a teacher who read poetry when she couldn't sleep. One rainy day, he brought her a tulip in a coffee cup. No words, just a quiet gesture. Her heart skipped. Eventually, she stopped coming for the coffee, and he started writing happier endings. Story number 5. Lecco. In a small village nestled at the foot of the mountains lived Lecco. He was the quietest boy in the village. He didn't talk much, nor did he involve himself in anyone's arguments. He spent his days chopping wood, reading old books, and sitting by the spring in the evenings, staring up at the sky. People thought he was strange, but there was one girl, Nilo, who understood him. Nilo had come from the city to spend a few days with her grandmother. The first time she saw Lecco, he was sitting on a tree branch, an old book in his hands, as if he were a prisoner of time. Nilo smiled and said, "It's easy to hide in stories, isn't it?" Lecco looked at her surprised. It was the first time someone had seen through his silence. From then on, they met every day, sometimes by the spring, sometimes walking the mountain paths, sometimes talking about old books. Nilo started to like Leko's world. Simple, quiet, but true. But the city life was calling her back. The day before she was to leave, Nilo asked, "If I leave, will you remember me?" Leko looked up at the sky and said, "You're like the rain. Every time you come, you leave something behind. And I'm the earth. I will always remember you." Nilo left. Leko stayed, just as quiet, just as alone. But now his stories had a new character, Nilo. And his heart, once empty, was now full with a name. Leko. Even in silence, there was the echo of love. Story number 6. Meeting on a moonlit night. In the hustle and bustle of city life, where everyone was busy with their own work, Ali and Sarah met for the first time on a moonlit night. They were at an exhibition in a museum, where ancient artifacts and artworks glimmered in the shadows of soft lights. Ali was a photographer who wanted to capture every moment through his camera. Sarah was a painter who created her world with colors. When Ali saw Sarah, his eyes fixed on the canvas she was working on. It depicted a moonlit night, but Ali's presence made that painting magical. They started talking, and soon discovered they shared the same dream: to make the world a more beautiful place. Months passed, and together they kept creating new stories, sometimes through the lens of a camera, sometimes with the help of a brush. One day, Ali stood Sarah in front of a picture and said, "The world is beautiful, but everything becomes special with you." Sarah smiled, and in the soft light of the moon, her hand joined Ali's. That moonlit night was the first glimpse of their love. And the moment, the journey of a lifetime began. The words of silence. Aliyah lived in a busy city where everyone was rushing through their lives. She was a librarian, finding peace in the world hidden among books. One day, while searching for her favorite book, her eyes landed on a young man, Zaid, who often came to the library to read poetry. Zaid's quiet nature and deep thoughts impressed Aliyah. There were no words between them, only glances and smiles. After a few weeks, Zaid wrote a short poem on Aliyah's bookmark. "You are heard even in silence, like the quiet of a moonlit night." Reading that poem, Aliyah felt deep inside that perhaps it was meant for her. Slowly, their meetings increased, and love blossomed in the spaces between silence. One day, Zaid said to Aliyah, "In your silence, there is a message that 1,000 words cannot say." Aliyah smiled and replied, "And in your poetry, there is a passion that touches the heart." Thus, their story began, a love spoken more in the language of the heart than in words. Story number 8. The first letter, extended story. Imran lived in a small, peaceful town. His world was surrounded by books and thoughts. Every day he would visit the little library near his home, where old novels and poetry collections were his best friends. For Imran, there was no greater joy than flipping the pages of an old book. One day, while sitting in his room, a letter slipped under his door. It was written in beautiful handwriting but had no name or address. Curiously, Imran opened the letter. It read, "Your smile has touched my heart, but I have never met you. Would you like to meet me?" Imran was surprised. He wondered who could have sent this letter. He was known as one of the quietest and most thoughtful people in the town, and the thought that someone was watching him was both strange and exciting. Days passed, and another letter arrived. This time, it included a meeting place and time. The old tea house in town at 6 p.m. Imran's heart raced. He wondered what the meeting would be like and what he would say. On the day of the meeting, Imran arrived at the tea house on time. He looked around, but no one matched his expectations. Suddenly, a girl sat down in front of him. She wore a soft smile and her eyes sparkled. It was Fariha, who had lived next door for years, but they had never spoken before. Fariha said, "I sent those letters. I always wanted to know you, but I never had the courage to speak." Imran smiled. "I wanted to know you too." Time passed, and they began meeting every day. They talked about books, dreams, and life. Their friendship deepened and eventually blossomed into love. That letter, which began as a mystery, had now become the most beautiful memory of their love. When Imran first read the letter, a strange mix of happiness and confusion filled his heart. He was sitting by the window while soft rain drizzled outside. The room was dimly lit, and the sound of raindrops gave a feeling of a secret moment hidden in time. He thought to himself, "Who could this be? And why send me this letter?" Days later, when the second letter arrived with the meeting details, Imran's heart was restless. He was getting ready, looking at himself in the mirror and smiling nervously. At the tea house that evening, Fariha was already there. Her eyes held a gentle glow, and she was reading a book. Imran gathered his courage and asked, "Are you the one who wrote the letters?" Fariha nodded. "Yes, I thought this might be the best way to reach you. You seem very calm, but I sense there is much inside you that longs to be spoken." Imran laughed. "You read me well. I've always wanted someone to understand my thoughts, but I couldn't put them into words." They stayed quiet for a moment, then Fariha asked, "Do you like poetry?" Imran pulled out a small book from his pocket. "Yes, this is my favorite. Would you like me to read something?" Fariha smiled warmly. "I would love that." Imran began reading. Dreams awaken in the moonlight. In silence, the heart's words speak. A smile spread across Fariha's face. She said, "This feels just like our story." They talked for hours, sharing dreams and understanding each other's feelings. Moments that once felt lonely were now filled with the echo of love. Gradually, their meetings became a daily habit, sometimes at the bookstore, sometimes in the park, sometimes under the city lights. One day, Imran said, "I never imagined a letter could change my life." Fariha gently held his hand and said, "It wasn't the letter. It was our dream reaching you."